Hey there, it's Vashti Sarah. Welcome back to Post Blog. If this is your first time listening, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like button, follow button, share button, all the buttons to stay connected with the Post Blog podcast. And for those of you who this is not your first time, welcome back. Hey y'all, so today I have the pleasure of interviewing a friend of mine, Atanza Vongor. He's a stinking beast at everything he does. My husband and I have been following his journey. He's now a boss of his own. He has his own training and fitness program. But before we get into that, I want Atanza to talk about the topic of testing yourself, testing your limits. And he's someone that I personally know, my husband knows, who has, there's people out there who are physically fit, but then there's people out there who's just on a completely different planet. And that's where Atanza is. He's a freaking beast. And I don't say that lightly. And I just want him to talk a little bit about his journey and probably encourage some of you out there who feel like, you can't do it. And whether it's in fitness or outside of fitness, to test your limits and do that thing and not allow your own insecurities to hold you back and to keep you from moving forward and doing bigger and greater things. So Atanza, introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you do, and just a little bit of a background before we jump into the questions for this episode.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So excited to be on the podcast today. Actually told me about it a couple of weeks ago, and I was obviously excited to hop on here, with her. She's been killing it, doing a great job with it. So I'm just honored to be able to be on here. But I'll go ahead and start with my name. My name is Atanza. As Vashti's already introduced me. I was born in Dallas. I'm from Grand Prairie. Grew up in Grand Prairie. Ended up going to TCU, played football there, and then also out South Alabama, out in Mobile. Graduated this past May, and I'm now a certified personal trainer, and I'm also a project manager for a company called Elion Roofing Solutions. So just been, grinding, trying to get after it, and set myself up for the future. So that's just kind of what I've been doing now. So
cool beans. And then you used to play football, correct?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that journey, playing football, what that passion was, and why you transitioned from football to personal training.
Yeah, so love football, still love football to this day. Honestly, had it not been for injuries, I would probably, still be playing right now, most likely. Ended up being a pretty big recruit out of high school. Really could have went anywhere, but, I really want to stay close to home. So decided to go to TCU. Went to TCU, had a great, fall camp, which is basically just practice before the season starts. And right before the season started, I ended up tearing my ACL. Never been injured in my life, but I ended up tearing my ACL that season. So that season was gone. And then the following year, played the whole season healthy. And then that next year, against Baylor in 2020, probably fourth or fifth game of the season, I tore my ACL a second time.
Wow.
So that was pretty tough. And then ended up going through rehab and going through that whole situation. But because of different things that went down with, with coaching and stuff like that, I ended up transferring over to University of South Alabama. Ended up starting, playing well his first 3 games, and then ended up tearing my ACL again in practice a third time. So decided after that, hey, that's 3 times in the same knee. So I decided, hey, let me go ahead and get my degree and finish out and go ahead and start my career. So throughout the off seasons and training and every year, in the off seasons, I've got friends that are also on the Division I level or playing in the NFL, and we get together and train. And usually I'd be the guy leading the training sessions just because I love to work out. I always have loved to work out. And I love to see people grow, and I love to empower people, and especially in the training setting. So that's something that I feel like translated easily, after, or even in college. I was like, man, one day I definitely would love to own a gym or be a personal trainer. And so after I I graduated, it was a no-brainer. In my last semester of college, I decided to go ahead and get my personal training certification and to go ahead and dive right into it. So that's what I've been doing.
Wow. So, I mean, you definitely went through injury after injury, testing your limits. And I feel like a lot of people after the first injury is like, hang up the towel, that's it, I'm done, forget it. But you are the epitome of testing yourself, testing your limits. So what would you say in terms of that? What have you learned from testing yourself and testing your limits?
Yeah, so something that I've learned is the really key has been, you can't grow if you don't test yourself. Like
Right.
growth doesn't come from just being comfortable and just going through the motions. It would have been easy for me to, after the first or second ACL, just be like, "Hey, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done playing. Just medically retired me, and I'm done." But there's no way I could have just grown. See the growth I have spiritually and mentally, and there's no way I would have grown and went through unless I decided to push myself and test myself and push past that threshold
Right.
to the next level.
Yeah.
So yeah, growth only happens if you test yourself. That's something that I've seen time and time again.
Was there ever a point during that time where you wanted to give up, or mentally your mindset was giving up is not an option?
I feel like it's some days are better than other days.
Yeah.
For me, it's giving up is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I've it's not an option. Just gotta put one foot in front of the other and
Mm-hmm.
keep going and remember my why. You
Wow.
know, for me, it's my motivation for one has always been one. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to bring glory to God. No matter what I'm doing,
Yeah.
where I'm at, God gets the glory, and that's number one thing. And then two, setting myself up for the future.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting that degree, so I can get the job that I want in the future, or getting the connections and networking with the people that I need to network with,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can just set myself up for the future, set my family up,
Yeah.
and just be in a good position down the road.
Yeah.
So giving up's never really been an option. There's obviously those days where it's like, man, like today's pretty tough. I don't feel like going to practice. I don't feel like going to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Because therapy is an everyday thing, and it's tough, especially when you're injured, because it hurts.
Yeah.
But you just gotta keep going. So yeah.
So in sports and fitness, what principles have you learned that you're incorporating in your daily life outside of physical fitness and training? How have you incorporated those principles that you've learned and you've gone through in terms of testing yourself in just daily living in your 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job?
I would say key principle would be being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay.
And that's huge because that's what really helps you improve in whatever you're doing. It helps you grow. Whether it's working out, training people, getting the proper nutrition in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I want to go get Chick-fil-A, or I want to go get something that is probably not the best for me.
Yeah.
But it's quick, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I really should probably eat something healthy, eat a salad, or go cook and make some baked chicken and some rice,
Yeah.
or something like that. Sometimes have to get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Sometimes communicating with people, building relationships. Sometimes relationships aren't easy.
Yeah.
They can be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Can be where you they're just not always easy.
Yeah.
But each day, I have to be okay being in those uncomfortable situations, and testing myself so I can grow.
Yeah. And you're spot on, because even for myself and Jared, like we have our own personal goals in terms of fitness, but it's so easy after a workout, I don't want to come home and I'm tired. I have, or extra stuff that we got to do. If I spend an hour cooking, that's an hour I could invest into accounting, or an hour he can invest to getting something else done. So, and we find ourselves, oh, let's just go to Panda real quick.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
Chick-fil-A real quick. And then our entire nutrition is just screwed up because we started off really well with high protein breakfast, shake in the afternoon with, something lean, and then at night, Chick-fil-A, And I mean, I get it.
Exactly.
Cheat days are great and all, but at the same time, to stay consistent with your goal, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable is making that sacrifice and cooking that meal that, you probably don't want to cook.
Exactly. And it's like, sometimes it's like, man, what I'm going to eat today. And it's like, you're thinking of everything else, but get in that kitchen cooking something that's like, which you really should eat. It's like, hey, you got to be disciplined.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you got to be, you want to reach your goals, discipline, that's the only way. So it's not easy, but hey, that's what you got to do.
So how can believers be good stewards by testing their limits? And I think a lot of people are very comfortable in being where they're at. And that idea of testing limits is only for like the elite players, the strong mindset people. And I feel like a lot of believers, we just are comfortable where we're at. And, we don't need to be the top dog. We don't need to be the physically elite. We don't need to be the CEO. And we don't test our limits. We don't push ourselves because we allow Christianity to be a comfortable thing. So how can we as believers be good stewards of what I feel like the Lord has put in each and every one of us, that ability to go beyond what we're capable of doing?
Yeah. So I feel like as believers, we can be good stewards, testing our limits, and exercising and growing the abilities and gifts that God has given us. That's really how we can be good stewards. Using those gifts, using those talents, using those abilities that God has blessed us with. Kind of touching on what you said, not everyone is called to be a pastor. Not everyone's called to be speaking in front of the masses and be the CEO of a company and all these things. But we all are called to reach people, and whatever way God has placed us in, we're called to reach people. So whether it's exercising that your gifts and your abilities at your job, you could work at you just any 9 to 5, using those opportunities that God has given you, to lift someone up, to empower someone, man, to tell them about God's love, to make sure that they know that you're someone that they can call on at any time, and just being an open door so that people can come to. I feel like just exercising those abilities, exercising those talents, and strengthening those talents that God has given us. That's the way that we can really steward, those things that God has given us. So
yeah, and I think too, a lot of people, they justify and say, well, for instance, say my dream was to be a fitness trainer, which it's not, but say my dream was to be a fitness trainer, but I see you doing it. Well, Atanza's doing it, so I don't need to do it. And I feel like we justify and say, well, someone else is already doing it. Someone else is already witnessing. Someone else already, is in that field. I'll just sit back and let them do what they want to do. I don't want to compete. And I think we lose it because we're not in a competition in winning souls. It's not about a count. Like you got 5, I got 10, I'm doing better, and I think that's too where we've lost it, where we look at the Christian faith and we become poor stewards of what the Lord has given us. And we don't even bother testing our limits, going beyond, because someone else is doing it. So why do I need to do it?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like a lot of times that we fall into that trap sometimes. We're like, hey, let me invite this person to church real quick, and then hopefully the pastor can preach to them and they can give their life to Christ. But at the end of the day, like, hey, didn't the Bible say that we're all supposed to go make disciples? Right. It didn't say the pastor should be the only person making disciples, and we're called to make disciples. So we got to get up and speak that word and disciple people and pour into people. That's
Yeah.
what we're all called to do.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So what would you say the Bible, I mean, you touched on it a little bit just now, but what would you say the Bible says about testing yourself, pushing yourself, and going beyond your limits, not being complacent in your day-to-day living, but going and doing outside of our comfort zone?
Yeah, I actually have a couple verses. I feel like the Bible is full of different things that everything that is in our daily lives that we can look to the Bible for.
Mm-hmm.
All these different practical things. So I'll start with Proverbs 21:5. It says, "Good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty." If you're someone that is wanting to grow in any way, you know, it takes good planning. It takes hard work.
Yeah.
Those things lead to prosperity. But if you want to take shortcuts, if you want have these goals, have these aspirations, but don't want to put in the work, don't actually want to do things that stretch you, that take you to another level,
Yeah.
and you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to reach those goals.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, they need that motivation. They need that push. And sometimes it's tough. But at the end of the day, like if you sit down, and really look at your goals, look at the things that you want to achieve, and kind of set them up, and so you can see them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to be able to really to go after them and work hard.
Yeah.
And to reach those goals.
Yeah.
I would say another verse that I like is in Matthew 25, 14-30. You see Jesus talk about use the parable with the talents. One man he had he gave each person a certain amount of talents, and one person went out and doubled it. Another person came back and had and brought like one or two more talents, and another person came back with his talents and didn't multiply them at all. He didn't come back with any talents. And you kind of see how people's drive, people's drive is. When I see those talents, I think about you can see it as people reaching lost. You can see it as growing your business. You can see it as and you can really put anything under that label of talents.
Right.
But the person that came back and with his same amount of talents, he decided to go and hit his talent. That person is someone who didn't go out and test himself. He wasn't comfortable with being in uncomfortable situations. He just kind of decided to go through the motions. And going through the motions is not going to help you grow. It's not going to help you. It's not going to take you to another level. Yeah. And when I look at that, I'm like, if God is in the end of that, in that passage, it says, he threw him to a place where he was weeping and gnashing of teeth, because he didn't go out and he didn't multiply his talents. He wasn't a good steward of what God had given him.
Yeah.
And when I look at that, I'm like, man, God has called us all to be good stewards, of the abilities of the things that he's given us, man. And the only way I can be a good steward is if I put myself in uncomfortable situations and stretch myself so I can grow.
Yeah.
Take my faith to a deeper place, take my business and my future to a deeper place. So that's another good one. And another good one I would say for me is Colossians 3:23. Work willingly at whatever you do as though you're working for God and not for man.
Yeah.
And that really reaches me because like everything that I do, whether it's my job, whether it's my relationships, whether it's working out, my nutrition, my body. I know my body's a temple.
Yeah.
And I should work as if I'm working for the Lord. Like I'm employed by God.
Wow.
And not for man, not for everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's a motivation because like, man, like I call myself a Christian. That's who I am. It's not just what I do. It's who I am. So if I call myself a Christian, man, my God is my boss. Like he's my father, but he's also my boss. Like I'm working for him. Everything that
Yeah.
I do, is to give him glory and to give him honor. And when I see things from that perspective, it's like it kind of helps me. Hey, I can't be out here like doing certain things or slacking off because hey, this is what I'm doing it for.
Yep.
So yeah, those verses really stand out to me.
Wow. I love that you said that, you're employed by God and you'll have to give account. We all, everyone in the Christian faith will have to give account for how we live our life, how for every word that we say out of our mouth, how we use our talents, and even how we glorify God by our body, the temple that he's given us. And, I've seen as the culture has shifted in America, we kind of justify, well, this is my body and I'm just going to, instead of trying to fit this image or fit this mold, I'm learning to eat what I want and treat myself how I want. And, we kind of justify it, and we see a lot of people, or at least I have seen a lot of people, give themselves away and lack the ideology of your body is a temple of the Lord, and we have to give account what we put in and what we put out, So I love that. And putting that label or having that understanding, God, I'm employed by God. I have to be the best of the best if I'm employed by the best, and
Respects.
golly, like it's so stinking good.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people they have an ideology, that kind of worldly ideology because they don't understand that your body is not yours.
Yeah.
It's God has given that to you. He's entrusted it to you, and he wants you to take care of it.
Yep.
Whether it's what you put in, physically as food, or what you put in, from your eyes to your ears.
Yeah.
All these different things. You need to guard. You have to guard your body. Guard things that come in your body because, like you said, it is a temple.
Yep.
And so yeah.
So what would you challenge listeners who are complacent or relaxed and it's just, I'm a Christian, but I don't really put that whole idea as a priority, testing myself and being different. What would you challenge that person who's listening right now and who's a little bit complacent, they're relaxed in their life?
Yeah. So a big challenge I would challenge someone like that would be really to step out of your comfort zone. Stretch yourself in whatever you're doing, wherever God's placed you. Because that's really the only way to grow. Honestly, like when you look at, I like to use a lot of examples for working out. So hypertrophy is a term. It means enlargement of muscle cells. The only way you can do that is by putting stress on your muscles, by working out, by stressing your muscles. And there are small micro tears form in your muscles, and when they heal, they go back stronger and they go back bigger, and that's what hypertrophy is.
Interesting.
And the only way you can do that is by putting stress on your muscles, by working them out. By going hard. By making them uncomfortable. Putting them in an uncomfortable situation. That's the only way you can do that.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, those muscles actually get smaller. They get smaller, and they get weaker. And that's kind of the same way, same thing that happens in our faith. If we don't in our faith, really in our faith and our knowledge, anything that we do, have you ever heard the term like if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
that's literally the same thing that happens with our bodies, with our minds, and anything that we do. Because if you're not growing, you're really like you're doing the opposite. You're getting weaker.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people to step out of your comfort zone, stretch yourselves, practice the gifts and talents that God has given you. Whether if it's speaking to people, man, keep speaking to people, keep encouraging people. If it's using social media as a tool, keep using social media as a tool. Keep reaching those people, keep reaching your audience in the best way you can.
Yeah.
If it's at your job, and being a good communicator to your clients, do that to your best ability. Use those opportunities that God has placed you in, and to just to reach those people.
Yeah.
And that's what I challenge people to do.
And that I love what's the word that you said?
Hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy. And it's interesting because I feel like David in the Bible went through that, where it wasn't until he was the most uncomfortable and broken, sleeping in caves, running away from Saul, did he actually set himself up for success. And he went through all these trials. And I feel like we as humans today in the Christian faith, we're not elevated until we're at our lowest point. And I feel like when we're at our lowest point, when our muscles have been completely broken and we're uncomfortable, that's when we, first of all, depend on God. But second of all, we gain strength to keep on keeping on. So phenomenal. I love that analogy. And even, I didn't even realize it, but our body goes through that physically, but mentally we have to go through that day by day living. And either we become complacent and we say, forget it, whatever, just another part of a challenge, or we take that challenge on and we allow it to break us and push us to that breaking point where we gain strength and we gain spiritual muscle and physical muscle.
Facts. Yeah, I kind of that kind of takes me back to like when I was back in college and I was going through my injuries and um, going through the transfer process and then having to go all the way to Alabama, move away from home, and all these different things. And God was really growing me, using me in those situations because, man, I He really put me in a lot of places to encourage others. Hey, even though I've been through all these things, I've been injured and I had the opportunity to really reach the potential that I set up for myself. Kind of being a big athlete out of high school, having aspirations to play professional football.
Yeah.
All these different things. Even though I was going through the injuries, I just continued to tell people, hey, I might not see the big picture, but I know that God does.
Wow.
And His plan is so much bigger and better, than the plan that I can think of for myself.
Right.
I might not make it to the NFL, but I might be able to train someone and help someone reach their goals and attain their goals and take them to the highest level.
Wow.
And that would help, that would make me feel so great, that I'm able to be in the place that God's, put me in and be able to help others and take people to another level. So, and people can do that wherever situation or area you are in life or whatever you do, you can do that same thing.
Yeah.
So,
and you're doing that right now with Vongor Fitness Training, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. When did you start and what all you do and offer in Vongor Fitness Training?
Yeah. So, Vongor Fitness Training, I started that in, in March of this year.
Yeah.
So right before I graduated, I made my website. I put together all my logo, all these different things and my different services. And really the key thing about it, and I wanted to reach people, wanted to help people attain their goals, whether it's to lose weight, whether it's to gain weight, whether it's to get faster, to get stronger. I train athletes as well, so to reach their highest potential.
Yeah.
That's kind of the key and the heart of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, services I offer is general fitness training. So for anyone who just wants to get fit, wants to get in shape, wants to get stronger, wants to look better, feel better about themselves, I offer that service. I also train athletes as well. So really with anyone, whether it's general fitness or athlete, I sit down with them and kind of come up with talk about their goals. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to attain by working out? And we talk about that. I set up a plan for them, just a detailed plan of, okay, how can we actually attain these goals?
Yeah.
And then we start training and whether it's I offer 2-week plans or 4-week plans. And we kind of go from there. So yeah, I love doing it. I just obviously I'm kind of new. Just graduating in May, so there's a lot, for me to learn. There's other certifications that I'm going after and trying to get, like my strength and conditioning certification, my certifications for movement science, and there's a lot of things to learn and to grow. So I'm just
Yeah.
continuing to build and wanted to reach and grow and stretch myself as well.
Yeah.
So
And for those who are listening, we'll be giving away a general strength and fitness training session. It's a $50 value to one listener. So stay in tune for that. I'll probably have a post about that, how you can enter, how you can win. But whoever wins this, I'll be honest, you will not be disappointed. I've had several friends who have done the fitness program with Atanza, and let me just say, basically, they walked out and they're like, he kicked my butt. So if you're up for a challenge, enter the giveaway, and I will have all those details in the Instagram post. But yeah, completely worth it. And to whoever the lucky winner is, bless your heart. So before we wrap this up, Atanza, anything you want to leave listeners, any last word, just a word of encouragement, something that's on your heart to that person who's listening, who's probably discouraged. They've started, stopped, whatever, God's placed on their heart, or they're just complacent in their daily living. One thing you want to leave with that listener.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting towards the end of the year, so we're getting ready to start a new year. You know, it's really cliche, all New Year's resolutions, stuff like that. I would say, like, make practical goals. Sit down, okay, what, and kind of like think of all the things that you want to accomplish. But put like attainable things that you want to accomplish, but in a certain time period, and write those things down. Okay, hey, in January, I want to accomplish this. Okay. Write it down, put it in a place that you can see it each and every day.
Yeah.
Have it in your mind, pray about these things so that it's constantly on your mind. I feel like whenever you write something down, it kind of sets it in stone. Like, okay, this is something that I'm really going after, and this is a goal of mine. And that's kind of like a motivation. Like, okay, like these are my goals. I wrote them down.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm working towards each and every day.
Yeah.
And then another thing I would say is find a motivation. Find something each day that drives you. You know, whether it's your faith, okay, doing it for Christ each and every day. Whether it's your family, hey, I want to set my family up for the future. I want to have kids in the future. I want to have a wife. I want to have a husband. If you're a woman, I want to have a husband. I want to set myself up for success in the future. Have those things in your mind so that whenever you're feeling down one day, or you're feeling kind of complacent one day, you can kind of think about that. Hey, if I'm trying to set myself up for the future, I can't take this off. It's kind of like in football, like I have aspirations and goals to make it to the league or make it to the professional level. I can't take this play off.
Yeah.
I can't, eat bad. I can't eat bad today. I can't, I gotta go watch film. I gotta go the extra mile. I gotta go do these other things. I gotta put in that work so that I can reach these goals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just encourage you, man, just to have in mind the things that you want to achieve, and really pray about them, and sit down and come before God, present them to God, and also present them. I would say also present them to a person that you're close with.
Yeah.
A really close friend or a family member, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. And I find that really helps with accountability. Like,
absolutely,
you show someone your goals, things that you're trying to achieve and accomplish. They'll see that you share those things with them, so that on the daily they're asking, hey, how's this going? How's your process, and how's your journey doing this or doing that? And that kind of helps.
Yeah, I know
with the process.
Something that Jared does, and well, both of us do. We have it on our mirror, our goals, and we call them God goals because they cannot be attained without Christ alongside, without us giving God the opportunity to move and do what he wants to do. And, Logan Paul, obviously he's not a Christian, but he's a well-known influencer. But back in 2015, when he moved to Los Angeles, he said that every morning and every night he'd look himself in the mirror and repeat 10 times every morning, every night. He repeated, I will be the biggest entertainer in the world. It took 6 years for that to manifest itself. But that's just the power of your mindset and the power of willpower to go beyond. And a lot of times we have to say it out loud and then it becomes real. When you say it out loud and you start believing, because a lot of times the reason why we stay stuck in our depression, stay stuck in our rutness is because we say, I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too dumb. I'm too blah, blah, blah. You know, like we start manifesting these things. We believe what we say. So when we start shifting our mindset and saying, I will be the best. I will accomplish this. I will, you know, whatever it is your goal is, when we say it out loud, it becomes, you know, real, and it becomes a little bit more tangible. And like you said, finding accountability, finding people you can trust that God goal with, and saying, you know what, here's the things that I would love to accomplish this next year. I'm planning to accomplish this next year. Keep me accountable. And I know I can't do this without Christ. Obviously, Logan Paul, he's a little bit more on the secular end. So I don't know if he had God on board with that, but you know, from a Christian perspective, put those goals on your mirror, put them somewhere you can see every single day. And that's kind of like a check for yourself. You know, are you eating healthy? If it's on your mirror, I'm going to eat healthy. It will convict you when you pick up that Chick-fil-A sandwich for the third time that week. But yeah, so phenomenal episode, Atanza. I love your insight. I love your heart for what you're doing, physical fitness, and that growth mentality, and not allowing yourself to be comfortable with the comfort, but placing yourself in uncomfortable situations in order to grow and be the absolute best.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just another thing, just kind of going back to what you said about, you know, people that are kind of are down and speaking things into existence. Whenever you have a goal or have something in mind, like God goals, like we kind of spoke on earlier, you have to believe it for yourself as well. You know, faith is huge. And like I have this goal. I have to believe it. You have to. I ever heard like you have to believe it to achieve it.
Absolutely.
It's real. You know, when you speak it and you speak it to existence, and you say, hey, like this is what I'm going to do in Jesus' name. Like and by God's grace, this is what I want to achieve.
Right.
Like, write those goals out, write those things out, and say, this is what I want to do. And in Jesus' name, this year, this is what I'm going to do. And just keep saying it, keep doing it, keep reiterating those things. And they'll definitely, you know, that'll definitely open up that door and give you an opportunity to be able to get those things done. Absolutely.
Well, phenomenal word, Atanza, and good luck to the person who wins. And yeah, all the best. And I can't wait to see the crazy and amazing things the Lord is going to do this next year with Vongor Fitness Training and all the other things you're working on. But thank you so much, Atanza. It's always a pleasure. And I'll see y'all next time. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me on Post Blog. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like button, follow button, share button, all the buttons to stay connected with the Post Blog podcast. Same time, same place next week. I love y'all. But remember, God loves you most.